All right, we will go ahead and call the meeting to order. It's a little bit after noon here. Thanks for taking to organize. We will begin the meeting with the pledge of allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I've been advised we have a quorum, so we're good to conduct business. And the first item of that business is approving the agenda. A motion to do so. Second, Mark. For number 12, there's a different handout, but it's the same agenda items. We're not changing the agenda, but just for, not that we've ever not had a unanimous vote on the agenda anyway, but just in case today was the day, we don't need to clear the two. With motion second, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. And the next item is approval of the minutes. The June meeting minutes. Motion to approve that. Second. Second. Any questions, comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Administrative, Mr. Cottingham.
My report this month is everything's fine.
Great report. Financial reports, Chris Corba.
See ya. Rolling right into it. Busiest time of the year for us, right? We're closing out the last fiscal year, starting the next fiscal year. I go off to a cautious start. Look forward to this time of the year almost as much as we look forward to, putting it in our rear view. Just some things to put on the schedule. We've got Bramwell coming out for us here in next week. And then we've got our audit scheduled with Barnes Denning. They'll be out here October 17th. Just to keep you in the know. And then that audit will get presented as it always does, December meeting. That'll be the 17th of December. So, a little early Christmas present, right? Jumping right into our monthly review there. Revenues and expenses, pacing right on with our budget amendment for FY25. When we look at this time last year, Macy's 20% increase in revenues, 24% increase in expenses. Through the end of May, we're sitting at revenues just over $42 million, right on pace at 93%, exactly what we were wanting to see. We've got our state, federal, other and local fund breakdown here that goes with the pie chart. We've got our scatter plot here, as you see, revenues and expenses matching on. Balance there, sitting at about just a little over $6 million, and only a 4% increase from this time last year. Once again, through May, we start our year-end spending, so that's expected. Nothing big there. Accounts receivable balance sitting at 2.1 million there for us at 14% decrease from this time last year. Our accounts payable balance has been pretty consistent for us, picking between that 850 to 900. Good increase there for us. Our interest earned balance year to date is $142,000, or about 11% increase from this time last year. So pretty consistent there for us. Nothing that really needs further explanation. Looking at our consolidated financial statement, once again, those May and June ones are pretty straightforward. After we do the budget amendment, everything's sitting about where we expect it. Expenses, personnel, professional, travel, facilities, all sitting well. Pass-through sitting right where we expected it. So no real questions or extra explanations on those. I know I talked a lot last month. I keep it shorter this month. So, any questions, my friends?
What's our net cash balance after all payables?
We have to pull.
Just guess.
We're consistently, and our cash balance kind of sitting there at 6 million. That's kind of a good number after we pay everything out.
Okay.
5.8 to 6. Yes, ma'am.
To me, that's a very large cash balance, and I don't know how restricted that is. Are you looking at paying some of those things out in the 30 days, 60 days, 90 days?
Yep.
Are we longer? And if it is a longer term that we're going to be holding on to money, I love that we're getting 11% increase for that, but could we get more? If we decrease our cash balance, we can actually put that in, even if it was more liquid investments. I think that would be more prudent.
Certainly take that recommendation into consideration. There are some restrictions on some of them, like just kind of off the cuff, about $1 billion of that is also drug control policy. So it's like, kind of looking at some of these other things, some of those are cash value of some of the that's one of the big restrictions is I think of the Office of Drug Control policy. There's certainly some CDs, some short-term things that we could go ahead and add on to the board with that, add on to the agenda and bring that. So I'll go ahead and look into those and bring some of those options here when we meet. It will be the October meeting. But I'll put that list together. Let me just make a note so I don't walk out of here and forget.
I mean, it's great that we've got 11% increase, so. Managing well, maybe, but we could capitalize on more.
I'll look at that and make sure that that aligns with our collateralization policy. No. Any other questions?
Good question. Any other? If not, would entertain a motion to approve the monthly financial report. Second. Mayor, further questions? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. And Chris is going to talk to us.
Yep, so our fiscal year 26 annual salary adjustments, this was in your packet. So when we went ahead and did the budget, we budgeted this for the maximum at $350,000. Part of our process here is we have a cost of living adjustment and we also have a merit adjustment. Our cost of living is at 4%, merit is up to 3%. So we have a review process our team goes through where they go ahead and self-review, and it goes to the manager reviews it, and they go ahead and meet. Same review for everybody in the building. But this goes ahead and gives you the table up here is the average increase by department. Once again, yes, Office of Drug Control policy, we're their fiscal agent, but they do have a different board that they do. So we kind of set ours and they fall within that range. So and then community development, once again, used to be part of local government. They're their own department. But if you could scroll down a little bit more for me, let me go ahead and I show you here the salaries after the raises. Obviously, you'll notice and aging is our biggest department with our largest headcount. So they're our largest salary base there, and then kind of just goes down based on employee count from there, just kind of showing what it is. So and then scroll down a little bit more for me, Clay. We budgeted $350,000 for that because I was just budgeted at the max, right? Always easier when I have to give some money back and we should spend it. So hey, this is what those raises will be based on performance reviews. Instead of us spending the $350,000, it'll be just a little shy over $250,000. The average salary increase for our employees for FY26, if approved, will be in the 5.96%. What questions do you have?
The 250,000 cash. This has been budgeted in next year.
Well, it's been budgeted in this year's budget now.
Oh, and
FY26, in the current budget, we budgeted $350,000. Now I'm coming back and going, hey, after we got evaluations, we're only actually going to need to spend $250,000 on those bonuses. Now we're going to have a surplus in that.
okay, so yeah, so the board's already approved.
Yep. Already approved the budget and
300 and change and okay.
And now I'm coming back and going, here's what they actually are. That budget's due before we do reviews, obviously. And now it's like, oh, well, I'm actually going to spend less than what we budgeted for it. Here's what that is based on the evaluations.
So that's a good point. But yeah, the board previously approved the pool of money,
Right.
and then that'd be the maximum, and then this would be what would actually be implemented, average out to 5.9. I did a spot check of some of the evaluations. There really was good distribution. It wasn't, every department head just told every one of their employees got the max. There was thought that went into it. The evaluations look good. I think it's a good process. And what's being passed around is your diligent board chair here finished Tara's evaluation last night. We talked about it this morning, and then we'll talk about Tara's evaluation and then what compensation adjustment next. First, we'll talk about, are there any questions here for Chris about the process, the raises? Yes, Judge.
In the email, it says the process for raises is exact same as we've approved for the past several years. It's just occurring earlier.
So
Explain that a
previous,
little bit.
yeah, so that's a good point. So the budget always gets approved at the June meeting. But a lot of times the staff compensation evaluation piece wouldn't happen until August or September. And something I had talked to Tara about last year, one of the goals was, I didn't love that the money was approved, the money was set aside, but it took a couple of months to get that into the staff's hands. So I asked Tara this year to follow the same process, but accelerate it just where it falls within the calendar, not, compress it. So it was still the same time period the department heads took to evaluate their staff, the same process, so nothing. We didn't shorten anything. The same amount of thought went into it. But I just asked that start earlier so that we could try to align the raises once the money was approved. I'd rather the staff have the money than sit in the board budget for, 2 or 3 more months. So that was the change. This is the earliest we've talked about this topic, but in terms of the length of time in the process within the staff, it is the same.
Is there a reason why the raises never took effect July 1 when the budget did? Is there a reason for that?
I can make it
Yeah, it's just, we didn't have those reviews done and didn't sit down with our staff. And 2 ago, July 1 might fall within the middle of a pay period. So we're going to make sure that starts on the new pay period. So you don't have to basically run 2 payrolls there with one at one rate, one at a different rate. So we leave ourselves that discretion to kind of start that very cleanly.
In addition to that, sometimes we do not have all of our contracts in place from the state and federal governments right on the fall. We wish we did, but we do not always have those right on the fall of the change of the fiscal year, just for a wide variety of reasons. And so it gives us that buffer to not be entering into something when we may not be able to charge to it because we're still waiting on some of that paperwork to come
So
through.
there's a reason.
There is.
Good enough.
Yeah, okay.
I wish we could do it. I'm with you. I wish we could do it sooner, but relying on, other governments for funding is, sometimes keeps it entertaining.
It does.
And also bring another point on the sheet, Clay, if you could scroll up to the top real quick. It also tells you when this will go into effect. It's effective 8/25/2025, and that'll show up on the September 5th paycheck for our staff.
I'm gonna make this comment preface. I don't believe anything's overpaid, so I should preface it by saying that I think we've always kept our salaries here at the ad very lean. However, I'm very curious as to your rationale for a 4% COLA when we look at data, it's 2.9%. As of June, for us at our city, we use the same touch point every year. It's the February CPI. So that way it's a rolling 12 months and we get the same data point. For us this year, it was 2.8. Last year it was 3.2. I do know in years past 2023, we were at 6%. So it does vary, but I'm trying to figure out, just like my quick internet search of CPI, there's nothing near 4%.
So that
Where did that come from?
That 4% is really sort of a combination of two things. Part of it is the CPI adjustment, and part of that is also when you look at the ads salaries across other local governments, particularly in this geographic proximity, they have lagged. So I think probably an accurate way of that 4% is trying to bring up the base sum to be more in line with the market, in addition to the cost of living. Like, for example, some of the years where the CPI was much higher than that, the ad was only able to do 1% to 2% raises.
So maybe the terminology is maybe not the best, but the general understanding is just for a talent retention standpoint, we just know that we are really paying everyone way less than what they need.
I would really love for us to provide the board a pay plan for each position and a range and just to think in terms of steps, built-in steps with longevity and that this would be your merit position, whereas you can be evaluated by your manager to see if you're eligible for the next step. That's where there's the mix between the COLA and then you pass your COLA. And then we decide if, they're eligible or if they're not for the merit or whatever. But I think if we don't have a pay plan, it's really hard. And I think what we'll find is exactly what you're saying. Our pay plan is probably out of line. It's probably we're undervaluing the positions. But it's very hard as an elected official to talk about COLAs that no one else is passing that. So I think I agree with you. There probably is a mismatch between the pay. I'm not pushing back on that, but I just don't.
No, that's good. And we've talked about doing a more formal compensation study. I go back and forth on doing this. Sometimes I think if employees found out you spent 10 grand on a study, they'd say, well, can we just have that 10 grand? When we know the salaries are that low. But it is something we've looked at. We have some funding constraints, some of the contracts, like unfortunately, some of the workforce positions are limited in the cost of living. They're allowed to get by nature of the federal funding contract. So, those positions are always going to be low. We know they're low, but the feds say, well, you're not allowed to use this WIO money to give more than X increase. So pay is always complicated. Especially in governments, especially when, because with that, you have a lot of people do a lot of different things. I agree, I think you can always improve. I think we can improve the pay plan, pay structure. I'm comfortable with this for this year, knowing that, this is the information we had, did the best we can with it, and can always do better in the future.
I think it would be helpful to know where our salaries are. I know years ago when I was at the hospital, and I came on as HR director, our salaries were in the fourth quartile, which means the lowest 25%. You put together a major study. When I left, they were in the first quartile, the top 25%. To keep good staff, you need to pay them. And I feel like we're doing a great job here, but I feel like I make these decisions in a vacuum without any documentation as what other communities are being paid. What are our competitors? Are we just looking at the region? Are we competing against Cincinnati for staff? I don't think we're competing against the rest of the state because it's just a different animal. But I think somehow we need to come up with some logic how we do this. And I think it's just something we need to say, and it might be something for the executive committee to work on.
And the ad itself actually does a great salary for any of the local elected officials that might have seen that. So Pat, we do have a good document that shows. Now, some of the cities and counties don't have equivalent positions here, especially in some of the human services field, the public admin field. There's some more comps there. But yeah, we do look at that, and the ad produces that document and then in turn uses it itself. But what other information would the board like to see or would be helpful?
And I just want to add in.
What is your reference point on that COLA? I would really like, and what is our historical? What have we done for the last 5 to 10 years?
We do have that.
If we can,
This is-
provide us with the board.
Oh, and Matt, I just want to add in and Judge, if you want to jump in and talk about it too, but Carroll County, we just went through, like everybody else, our budget. We were discussing raises as well. One of the things that Carroll County really discussed was, again, talent retention and keeping up with the market rate, especially with an area that has such a high industry that pays the wages anyway. We needed to make sure that we were keeping people there. So with the average salary here at 5.9%, I will say, Judge, and correct me if I'm wrong, but we did a 5% COLA essentially across the board. So ours was 5% outside of any type of data points, because we were looking at it more from an idea of we could potentially lose people to North American Stainless, Dow, PMC. We needed to figure out a way, not just with the benefits that we offer at the county, but with cost of living and pay. So we just kind of took it on our own and said, this is for us to invest. So with the 4% here on the COLA, we went 5%, honestly.
good. I'm looking, I have some of the historical info
But is
here.
that a 5% COLA or just a 5% pay plan adjustment?
We don't have-
Semantics, but there is a difference.
So I'm gonna be honest with you, we don't have a
Call it
pay
something
plan.
different.
I would call it a COLA because it was just 5% across the board for everybody. It wasn't based on any type of pay plan.
Matt, in general,
Yes, eventually, yes.
Matt, in general, recently, 3 years ago, I know for a fact that we weren't paying what Kipta and Bluegrass was paying for their ads. I don't know what Bear River and some of the other larger ones were, but I know for a fact that our public administration, community development, other stuff, we were paying less than they were.
So the last 3 years, so in fiscal 24, the breakdown, the cost of living piece, which we can rename to whatever makes everybody feel good, is 2% and the merit was 3. So up to a total of 5 in 2024. In 2025, same 2% on what we're calling the COLA piece, 3% on the merit, and then this year it's the 4 and the 3. So the merit range of 1 to 3 has been the same. Whatever we want to call the base that everybody gets was 2, 2, and 4. And I know, like, for example, the CPI was higher than 2% in 2024 and 2025.
Yeah.
So, probably I could have explained this better, used better word. Part of this is making up for some of that piece when, one year Campbell County, we did 5 or 6% because that's what the CPI was. It wasn't above that. And, the ad would have been at 2. So I think we end up in a good place in the market. We just might be lagging a little bit here. And then this year it's 1 or 2% higher than the CPI, but the past 2 years it's 3 or 4% lower than the CPI.
Just quick comment. I'm fine with the 5.9 and totally understand the need to get that up. To Mayor Abishon's point, pretty much all the city county managers were using that 2.9 COLA. So I would just say, if you need to bump up merit, do that, increase that range a little bit, but just to keep it consistent with how we're applying that rule, I think is a good thing.
Something that I think may be a clearer definition of what the 4% is. It's really a base salary adjustment.
Right.
Part of that is COLA, part of it is competitiveness. But I have a little concern saying we're giving a 4% COLA. But a base salary adjustment terminology can include COLA and the other factors. And I think it could, a lot of us elected officials, as has been said, it's hard to make the case at home in our home jurisdictions of why we're doing something, then come here and vote for a totally different number.
That's good feedback. And nothing's been voted on or approved, so we can change it right here on the floor to call it
an
a
adjustment.
base adjustment of 4% and a merit of 1 to 3. I don't think the staff is gonna be bothered with what it is
That
called.
sounds like to me, what you call it.
Right, yeah.
To spark the controversy.
correct. Yeah, the math is the same.
I like the term base salary adjustment, and then you can explain what makes that up. But I'm not opposed to what Mark has said either, of shifting the number. Either one's fine, but one or the other, I think needs to
For
happen.
this year, because the evaluation process is complete, I think we need to leave that merit piece as the 1 to 3 range. And then the base adjustment of the 4.
I would really hope that.
Can you explain what is a plan, is a pay
Every
plan?
position would have a salary for it. And each year that they are in that position, they are subject to raises or increases that will bump up.
So implementing a step and grade.
Yeah, I mean, I think we need to know that if you have a frontline worker, this is the pay. And as we progress through and as they get their merit, they can navigate through whatever. But Sally doesn't get hired at 10,000 and Johnny get hired at 15,000. If they're doing the same job. This is the job, this is the pay for that job. That's how we all operate, right?
Yeah,
We're not asking you to operate as different things than we do.
I don't agree with that only because sometimes we do a step. Just because I have tenure, I'm expecting that step, and maybe that person doesn't have the merit to get that step.
But it'd have to be approved by their supervisors.
I also think there should be a gap or a range of when you're hiring somebody. So if I'm a technician and I'm grade X, there should be a range of that salary because certain people bring more experience and expertise to the job than others. So I think you need that flexibility. So I'm disagreeing with what you're saying. I'm just saying, instead of just a salary or a rate, there should be a range.
We're not allowed to do that, though.
Well, I am, we are, we do.
In the health department, we do a range. We do a range at the health department for each grade.
Yours is the same way, isn't it, Julie, a range? Yours is a range?
Ours is, if you have a job, that's what it is. We
So you don't have a high or low.
You're a finance clerk, you make X. If you're a public services inspector, you make X.
Does like years of service wouldn't affect
No,
anything?
because that goes into their stipends
Well,
and their seniority pay.
And upon higher experience, when it, wow.
I hate this time of year, even at the city, because it's tough to navigate through. What I have found when I worked at the fire department, the way they did it worked. What we do at the city works. What everybody else in this room does is work, but it's all gonna be different. So,
Correct.
so there's not a wrong answer. There's not a right answer. When you get to comparing, it's extremely difficult, to compare. So it just, I mean,
It is.
so to sum it up, that's the best thing is there's not a right and wrong. You have to pick just what works for your given entity. And it's gonna be really hard here with this board because if everybody brought theirs to this board and said, this is what we do at home, you will never come to anything. We do, sounds like what the majority does. What we have, you get a pay grade. Now, that pay grade has, it goes from this dollar amount to this dollar amount. If you make that much money in between you're in this pay grade. The problem is, that really means absolutely nothing. Because when you top out, we just switch it to the next pay grade. You keep going. So it doesn't keep you anywhere. We just adjust, so.
We do not.
It's like no purpose, but, yeah, I've never understood it, but that's what you do, right? So I will be willing to give you
Chris, I have
what
a
we do, but
question
that doesn't mean
for
it's gonna
you.
work here.
Because I actually sat in and talked to you about it, for Carroll County, talking about this. So I have a question for you regarding pay plan and giving a range of here's the lower and here's the top out. In your experience, how does that typically work? Because I know we sat in there for a long time and it's something that I'm gonna be working with you and Chris Courtney on here for a little bit on what works for Carroll County. But is a top out range or that range, is that effective? Or is it similar to what the mayor said? Once I hit top out, then you're just like, well, let's readjust it because you're doing so well. Now our top out's different.
And I go, obviously, all of our budgets are vastly different, right? I go, the sources of where those money come are different. So some of our constraints will be different in that. And I go, once again, a little newer to the nonprofit pseudo governmental space, right? I came from the for-profit world where we had the ranges. We have some of our social workers that do very similar things, but their funding sources are vastly different. So some entities can afford to pay more for very similar work on paper, but it's because this one funding source is much higher and allows for more. This other one doesn't and allows for different. So they have 5 groups of folks that are doing very similar jobs with pay ranges that can be very different because of their funding sources. So if we were to then put it on something like here's what the finance clerk and this is what it is, we'd be drastically underpaying everyone across the board. So it's I think it's, once again, right, right, Mayor Adams said, right, like, we all do things a little differently because we all operate just a little differently, doing similar things, but I go, that money source and that budget source different, so I go, we're all gonna do kind of different things, you know, kind of keep the home fire going and kind of keep that. Again, this recommendation's been similar. I go, once again, the reason for the poorly termed cost of living adjustment at 4% as opposed to the historical 2 data we've done is we saved about $100,000 on health insurance because that did increase for those of you that are also on that health board and have just been there. And we had our SERS rate go down. So we budgeted for 350 and then that 100 grand we saved, we're actually still saved because now it's still only going to cost us 250. So I go, once again, that terminology not being perhaps the best use, but I go in keeping with our consistent. So I go, I think it's, you know, unfortunately, like every good accountant and many good attorneys, we rarely give a good yes or no to an answer,
It
right?
depends every
Yeah.
time. Yeah.
It depends on a multitude of.
Judge, you got
Mr.
it.
Chairman, I'm gonna second Judge Moore's motion on the 4% increase is a cost of living combined with the base salary adjustment. Just gonna change that verbiage. I think you made a motion, didn't you, Judge?
I didn't actually, but.
You'd love to,
right?
You're willing to make. I'm willing to make that motion yeah, and I think that's a good, that's a good way to put it.
We have a motion, we have a second. Keep it moving. Any further discussion? Mayor will get you the information we need. I got a report right now, what everybody makes by position. We can get that to you. All in favor? Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank
Took a long
you.
way to get there, didn't we?
But that's why we have the board meeting. I mean, that's why we meet, that's what we talk about. So the second component, in case anyone is not tired of talking about pay, performance and evaluations, is Tara's. And I did talk to Tara and she is comfortable just being here and doing this in an open board meeting. It's transparent. We're all on the same page, so the conversation should be free. So I sent out the information, received feedback, different things. I also, in my evaluation, Tara looked at the CERDI recommendations and the strategic plan this board has adopted, goals for year 1, year 2. For example, one of the last years was meeting in all the communities. We have accomplished that. I shouldn't say we, because it had nothing to do with that. Tara and her senior staff made it to every one of the communities.
58.
58, and you just told on yourself, but great work. So that was accomplished. This past year, one of the goals was bylaw reform, board membership reform, which we have here, Mayor with us today, Mayor Link, so welcome. So those were goals that, you know, I believe she had accomplished based on that plan. So those are in her vision. And then you see kind of a sampling at the bottom. From the feedback I received, both written, I also had some phone calls from people. My interactions, I think Tara's doing my exact word, excellent job and has exceeded, you know, the expectations that I've had for her, the goals I've set for her. She has met and exceeded all those. So the component to this would be the compensation. So Tara would definitely get the 4% base adjustment is now named, and then would be eligible for the 1 to 3 on the merit. My recommendation would be the 3 based on the goals I've set for her and her achieving those goals and the feedback that I have. So
Make that motion.
Second.
second, any other questions, comments, discussion?
So that number, that 250 number will be adjusted? Or not, is that part of it?
Just put in,
We put in the max for Tara in that, so then knowing the board. So the dollar amounts previously approved still cover this. I wanted to plan for the high side and then talk about this with the board once I did her evaluation. So good comment question. Good motion, a second. Any other questions or comments?
I just wish we'd have talked about it in F&A before bringing it out.
Understand. Sorry. Question, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
Motion carries. I've lost my agenda. No. Still me. Committee reports, ad hoc nominations committee reports. So we talked about the last board meeting. So one of the bylaw changes was both creating a nominating committee that involves the chair and any volunteers, and Joe Cottingham and Marie Schenkel graciously volunteered to help me on the nominating committee. And this coming forward, the officers will be different. So what it's called, the F&A committee, is going away. It'll be replaced by an executive committee that has 8 members, so 1 from each county. And county meaning just geographic term, not a county appointee. So not necessarily the judge or the fiscal court citizen, could be a citizen or a city within that county. So the new nominate or executive committee would include the officers. You're stuck with me for a little bit longer because the bylaws do say the past chair is part of that. So my name ended up on there. And then going through, looking through a good mix of citizen members, cities, counties, people who have experience, people who are newer to the ad, because I think it's valuable that, to have someone on the executive committee who has not been around here for 15 years and ingrained in the ways that we've done that. So this is the report that the nominees come up with. So it is 1 person from each county. With Judge Moore here, the reason for that is it would have been Boone County's fiscal court's turn to be chair. Not that anything is slotted, but that would have been next rotation. So I think it's fair to keep that there. And then you're stuck with me automatically, and then a mix of mayors, judges, and a citizen member to kind of round us out. So here's the process for this. We need to have the officers in place by the September annual meeting, which is early. If everyone is comfortable with this slate prepared by the nominating committee, we can vote today. If there's nominations from the floor, if you're interested in serving but didn't see your name end up on here, you have an issue with one of these people on here, you say an open meeting or you can come to me afterward. We can push this to August. We need to make sure we have a quorum in August. So I wanted to present the report of the committee now because it's ready. And if there's no questions or everyone's comfortable with it, we can go ahead and vote. These would be effective at the annual meeting. Or we can push it a month and reconsider in August.
Make a
So
motion.
I'll second that. I was gonna first it because, yeah.
we have a motion and a second. Any questions, conversation? Any of these people want to bail before? Got about 10 seconds to get out of this.
It's too late. Too late.
Hearing no one quitting, I will call the question. All in favor? Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you to everyone and congratulations on your next group of officers. See you in September, Judge. Or if you want.
Thank you. Thank
take over
you.
now. Come on, Judge, we can switch seats. All right, that is your report from the Ad Hoc Nominations Committee that you've all looked forward to. Moving into the programmatic section, Katie Jo.
She's not here,
Oh.
so I was going to do it for her.
Great, no, I was just reading the
Yeah,
agenda.
yeah.
Grace, we're happy to have you.
Right here. Okay.
Oh, my bad.
Oh, no, you're good.
So we do have one e-clearinghouse project this year. This meeting. It is the fiscal year 2026 water quality management planning. So this is from the Division of Water, and it's for funds from the federal government to conduct water planning activities in support of the strategic planning process. So that's going to include things like environmental indices, soliciting public inputs, facilitating planning sessions, and preparing for operational plans. So these are actually required by state statute. There are 4 different water quality and water management plans that are required by state statute. So these funds are just to help out with that.
Someone else's funds to help us out. Seems like a good idea. And a motion to submit our comment of no objections.
Motion.
Motion with Bill,
Second.
second Judge Moore. Any other questions? Yeah.
I guess we're the regional review agency. This project, does it in Franklin?
So this project is for the state division of water. So the funds will be split between all the counties
Okay.
and to do all the states, which is why it's sent to every ad for
Which is why it's based in Frankfurt.
Good question.
Okay, I'm
Yeah.
confused with that. Okay, thank you.
Good question, good clarification. Any other questions, comments? All in favor? Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Ann is gonna talk to us about fiscal 26 aging allocations.
Good afternoon, everyone. So I have a few comments to make before I go through the allocations, just to preface everything. First of all, it's been a crazy few months knowing whether or not we were going to receive some substantial cuts on the federal level. But the good news is everything looks like it's going to remain intact. And it looks like things are pretty good for us. I'm going to go through everything for the benefit of our new folks. I'm going to just kind of summarize everything. When I finish, I'm happy to entertain any questions that you have. The other thing is there are some funding that is restricted. So you might see some things and say, well, why is this? Sometimes it's because federal and state funds are restricted in some areas. So that might be the reason why something looks the way it does. I'll be happy to answer that as well. The other thing that I did want to mention is we're doing this a little bit backwards, and that has everything to do with timing. So Pat's smiling at me because he already knows this. Normally this would go before our Council on Aging Board and then before the Board of Directors, but because of the way the allocations were released, we're gonna get you all to approve, then hopefully there will be no issues with the council. If there is, I'll have to come back and see you all next month, but
Maybe the council will take a look at it and if we need to make adjustments, but I doubt if we will, because usually.
yeah, yes,
Pretty good recommendations and
yes, thank you, Pat.
there's a lot of error here somewhere.
Thank you. So that's what that's about. But so just want to go through by service. I will say overall, we did wind up with a little bit more this year, not any great big amount of money, but a little bit more. And that is with considering that our federal funding is going to pretty much stay flat overall as statewide, actually nationwide. So just to kind of review our services, if you're looking at congregate meals, we received an increase in funding for the congregate meal program. And this will allow us to maintain the same level of service in FY26 as we provided in FY25. The state health insurance program experienced a statewide funding reduction of right around $38,000. Each area development district received a 10 to 12% decrease in funds as a result of this. That's unfortunate, but we see those things happen from time to time. Our federal and state allocations as far as the population base increase, which is what the funding formula is partially based on. We received an overall funding increase of $55,240, and that is due to the continued growth in the older adult population in our region. This includes, well, that's actually federal and state. 20,772 in federal and 34,468 in state funds. In Northern Kentucky, we experienced the highest increase in the aging population, more than any other of the NKADD districts. So we were top, which is pretty I think, pretty awesome. You know, it really is, it's awesome and it's a challenge because we have more people to serve, but really just such a great thing.
I have a question concerning that, if I may.
Say that again.
I have a question concerning the increase in aging. Do we know what percentage of that increase is just aging and how much of it is new people moving into the area that
So
are elderly?
that increase that I told you was, I don't have the breakdown, but strictly aging
Right.
is based on that formula. So that's over 60.
Yeah, but we don't know.
Don't
Are
know.
they new or did they just?
Oh, are they new? I see what you're saying. Are they new?
Is
Yeah,
it because of birthdays or because of moving vans?
Yeah.
Based on,
These are people that are having, you know, the baby boomers are booming.
We got all these people from Florida.
Yes, but I understand.
Yeah,
what you're
it'd be an
saying.
interesting piece of data.
It would definitely be an interesting piece of data. We will definitely have to take a look at that. Also just want to mention, last October, we started a new statewide data system called Mona Me. I have a staff member that has a sign outside their cubicle that says Mona Me is not my friend. For all those who know a little French. It actually is actually going really well. But the Department for Aging entered into a contract with Mona Me, and this is for the entire state, centralized data system. And they covered the cost of FY 25 for everyone in the state. That was only for FY 25. So now in FY 26, they're shifting those, they're starting to shift those costs to the ads. And so you will see under Mona Me cost that we have to pay a portion, and it's all proportioned by our budget and the number of users that we have and a number of factors. So you will see our costs there. A little bit about our home care services. Those are our state services, primarily our in-home and case management, chore, home repair, personal care, respite services. There's been a decrease based on FY 25 year-end expenditures. In FY 25, a portion of the funding for homemaker services was redirected to case management. We have to do this from time to time due to staffing shortages among our providers. That is starting to get better, but we've really had we do experience that staffing crunch from time to time. And it certainly did happen in FY 25. We're fully staffed and our providers seem to be staffed well. We feel like assessments and service delivery are expected to increase in FY 26, which is a great thing. Even with the increased funding, we anticipate exceeding our allocated service level for homemaker services. We'll deal with that. We will make a way. And additionally, by redirecting some of our ADRC expenses, we were able to allocate more funding toward homemaker services. And then we have home delivered meals. There was an increase in funding for home delivered meals, and it is not sufficient to meet the service levels provided in FY 25. As an additional one-time funding is no longer available, we will be seeking increased state support from the Department for Aging to continue accessing home delivered meals. So the state continues to support, and Governor Beshear continues to support making sure all of our older adults are fed through our expanded senior meal program. And so we do receive an allocation. And if that is not enough, we go back to the state and ask for more money. And we've been promised, we've had enough money so far, but we might run into that problem where we're not going to this year. And we've been promised that they will make good on that. So we are gonna hold them to that because that's very, very important. We also do, just as wanted to mention, have funding from the Burning Foundation. They have given us a significant amount of money over the years. We still have funding in that foundation that allows us to fund meals, and that's a flexible pot of money. And so we're doing pretty good in the meal area. And then our senior center allocations. Take a quick sip of water. I'm almost done.
I was like, we gotta get going. We got two
Okay.
more budget items.
One more thing.
No.
Senior center, a reduction in senior center funding was due to RC Durr no longer contracting with the city of Walton to operate Walton Senior Center. We are actively working with Walton Center to ensure support during the transition period. And until a new funding cycle becomes available, which is next year, FY27, they can apply for funds then, since the city is going to be operating. We'll just continue to support them through the transition. That's all I have. Questions?
Entertain a motion to approve the aging allocation plans.
So moved.
Pat? Second. All in favor? Any opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you. Tara's gonna talk to us about the KPDI fiscal agent resolution.
Okay, in front of you, you should have a very slightly different version of this document than what is on the screen. We have been working very closely with the city of Carrollton, Mayor Adams, as well as, they've been working with the Cabinet for Economic Development to ensure that this resolution is worded exactly the way that it needs to be worded, and there were some changes from yesterday. So the idea is here that through our financial services team, that we are going to serve as a fiscal agent for Carrollton Utilities in their KPDI grant, Kentucky Product Development Initiative grant, which involves up to $3,768,942 in KPDI funding. That is not in the version that was in your packet. That is what has been added, is that dollar amount. It was added at the end of the first whereas paragraph. And then the only other thing that was changed from what you received was that rather than using the term memorandum of understanding, they would like us to use the term grant agreement. So everywhere that you see those words or the acronym MOU, we have replaced that with the term grant agreement, which what this means is that as a service to Carrollton, will be entering into a grant agreement, whereas we will provide, we'll receive the monies from the cabinet. We will oversee the compliance with that grant, and we'll distribute the monies as appropriate based on their project for Carrollton Utilities. I'm open for questions.
Is this a one-year grant or continuous grant or?
No, it's a one-time. The KPDI, every county was eligible to apply for 2 million. From a regional standpoint, if you're a neighboring county or somebody in the region, and it was a project that could serve the whole region, and your neighboring county, for instance, was not going to apply, you could take their 2 million and apply for the 4. And that's what we did. Apply for the 4 million. Our project actually came out to 3.768. So it's a one-time cost to this particular project. Will provide potable water and gas, natural gas, to a 400-acre plot that the city owns to make it more industry ready, if you will. So, but it's a one-time project.
But
Now,
it could
it doesn't
spread
mean you
out.
can't apply next time and you may get granted again, but this is one time.
And the funding can be spread out over several years, because some of these
For
KPDI.
the length of the project. I don't think ours will go that awful long. We're getting ready to start the project very soon. And we expect it to be wrapped up in a time.
Admin fee.
Sorry.
We are, because it is actually the city's Carrollton Utilities rather has really been waiting on this grant to move forward. There's going to be very limited actual staff charges to this timeline. We're going to be writing just a few checks and making sure they're compliant. So we are going to be using their fair share dollars for the 15 hours to go toward this. And then that will be, it will end up being nothing, but it's because we're able to use their 15 hours that every community gets in order to do it. Because even though there's a very large dollar amount, the actual staff time to accomplish this service will be.
Sure.
We've done a couple of KPDI grants in Boone County, and it's product development. That's what KPD, Kentucky Product Development, to enhance industrial sites and so on. But I'd like to make the motion to approve the resolution if you're ready.
I'll second.
Motion and a second. Any other questions? The ad they will help. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried.
Thank you all. Appreciate that.
Thank you. I know we are at time. I have 2 slides at least. I have more than 2 slides. I can email them, but I have 2 slides that I definitely need to show you if you want to go to the next slide. We are having an annual meeting. If you remember, it took a really long time to figure out what the date was going to be, but it's coming up quick. September 9th, I sent everyone an email with how to register. In that email, it has a link, and then it has your board code. So each of you get 1 free ticket to come to an absolutely gorgeous new venue, Water's Edge Event Center. It's in Gallatin County. Thank you, Judge, for making it possible. It's right on the river, gorgeous views. I mean, when I did the walkthrough, it smelled new. It's awesome. I mean, it is new. It is new. It's really cool. They've got this gorgeous pond. Anyway, you definitely need to come. It's really not that far. You can get there, what, Judge? 30 minutes. 30 minutes. So we're going to have a great agenda of awards. Jules, everybody loves Jules. They're going to do the catering. So the food is going to be amazing. So please, please, please sign up. And then if you want to bring somebody, then you can register them kind of separately through that same link. You just won't use your board code. If you can't come though, you could use your board code for like 1 representative from your community to come. So if you need the link again, ask Amy. Amy's got it, or you can ask me and we'll get it to you. It's going to be easy. It's going to be awesome. If you want to click really quick, we're doing a lot of stuff still on housing. I just want to say that what we had hoped was that local communities and nonprofits and other organizations were going to kind of take this up, right? That we were going to kind of start it and spark some things. We're going to keep it tied to workforce. And then we were going to let communities do whatever they wanted with it, right? That we're not going to tell anybody what to do, but that maybe this Home for All report and having strategies would help spark it. Mayor Abjan was on a panel yesterday, I think it was. It's been a long week, where it came out and they were talking about it. And every community is doing their own thing, which is perfect. So City of Covington has a new task force. I'm going to be on that with many other people. Carroll County is working on some readiness sites and thinking about that. We're working with not only Matt, but also Bill Lewis on some of that. The Chamber took that 50, the Northern Kentucky Chamber took those 50 strategies and they're elevating 4 of those in what they're calling their blueprint of things that are kind of focused on maybe more private employers, which is cool. And so anyway, just letting you know, it's neat. Things are happening. We've been asked, along with Brighton Center, the Chamber, and Judge Pendry are going to speak. We're going to speak at the Kentucky Housing Corporation Conference as their kickoff speaker on August. I'm pretty sure it's the 20th. This is Wednesday. And then they also asked me to speak at the NATO conference nationally. So that's kind of cool. So if you go to the next one, you don't need that one. Go to the next one. Okay. This is a sales pitch. We have this regional transit work. We're calling it mobility actually, but I put a transit on here because sometimes we're still trying to work out the name. But if you remember, this board was presented with a study about regional coordinated transportation and about how do we get people from where they need to be to, where they are to where they need to be. A lot of non-emergency medical Transit is involved in that, but we've been in getting our workforce team and our Office of Drug Control Policy, all of our team kind of in that conversation, even though we really only have money for the aging and disability services side right now. You all passed a plan earlier this year for how we are going to go about that. Our Southern judges have had multiple meetings about this. Guys, we have staff now that are working on it. It's great. And so you passed last month that we would join Neo Ride to help all the partners that provide these services to get the same like software. That's probably not what you say anymore. Platform, app, I don't know. Whatever the technology is to get them all talk to each other in real time. We can help them do that now. And we've hired Ryan Craig, he's a temporary person. He's here for 18 months to help facilitate getting that technology all coordinated. We have Ivy Stites. Ivy's right there. Hi, Ivy. You can wave at everybody, who's working on the local government side. And then we have Ariana Pennington, who's helping clients actually figure out how they're going to get to their medical appointments through our Aging and Disability Resource Center. And so if you are an elected official, especially, but not only if you're in our southern counties and you haven't met Ivy yet, she's probably going to find you after this meeting because we are having a meeting on August 18th. And we would really love it if you would please come. And you might be thinking, wait, but the week before we're having a transportation meeting. Yes, we are. But that's about the physical road. This is about mobility and making sure people can get where they're needing to go. So it's different. And we're not going to ask you to come and meet all the time, but just a few times so that we can make sure that we're implementing this with this grant money that's one time in the way that you want. So we need your voice. If you can't come, maybe you can send somebody, talk to Ivy about that. Okay, I think that's all. I do have some other slides about where we are on strategic plan. Just know we're working on it. And with that, I'm done, unless you have questions.
Just note on that KHC conference, if you're not aware, that's actually up here in Northern Kentucky for the first time ever that we can remember. That's a pretty good conference. There's a lot of developers there, a lot of kind of strategic housing opportunities. So if you're able just to pop in for a little bit and show them that Northern Kentucky knows what they're doing on housing, then that would be useful. Count that as my chairman's report and my announcements. So then I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Just one real quick.
Yeah.
Okay. The Northern Municipal Government League is having an outing August 1st at Florence Y'all. So if you haven't signed up, should be a paper. If you don't have a paper, find one.
Very good.
We got a lot of signups already, but there's room for you.
Now I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. Second, all in favor? Saturday.
Stay cool.
Yes, sir, Mayor.
Hello.
I did, finally.
I know.
I don't know the next steps now.